Thank you so much for coming. And I especially want to thank the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Santa Rosa. Many of you are members here, for giving such support to my dad, and also all the people here from Brookdale, because my dad's found quite a community at Brookdale for 7 years now, and that's very special. So you can sit down if you want. Yeah. So we tried to create this as a whole event. It's much more than a book launch, as hopefully it's evident, because this is about conveying my dad's philosophy of life. So we wanted to create something to fully experience it through the poems and prose, and actually I'm going to tell a story, and photographs will be on the screen, and then later on will be available to talk in the back and sign books. But I'd like to invoke a custom here that we use at UUCSR, which is instead of applauding, we just rub hands if we're moved by something. Because we kind of created this as a whole event. So rather than break it up with applause, my dad said it's fine to applaud at the end, but to just wait until then. And this is a really special day because my dad's always said that whenever he goes to memorial services and learns about somebody and their view of life, that he's really disappointed because the person isn't there to talk about it. And then also, he's learned all this stuff that he wished that he'd known beforehand. So now this is a celebration of his philosophy of life, and he's here to share it. So this is my dad at Yosemite just about a month ago, hiking at 98. That's the hike up to Vernal Falls, and you can see Yosemite Falls in the distance.
Rain.
Yes, in the rain. And this is what I wrote in the book for the dedication. To my father, Ken Ogren. As a child growing up in Minnesota, my father had rheumatic fever 3 winters in a row. His parents carefully nurtured him through each episode, but the doctors told him not to expect to live past 40 years old. He was 63 when he suffered from a debilitating major depression. My mother, Marjorie, helped him navigate a 1.5 years of medical dead ends until finally discovering the medication that restored his equilibrium. In 2006, Marjorie was thrown into a medication-induced depression that she never fully recovered from. My father was her devoted primary caregiver until her death in 2013, 2 weeks after they celebrated their 64th anniversary. All these and more experiences, my dad learned to cherish and enjoy life. He is still learning to take risks, and he's challenging me to be fully myself. Learning to snorkel for the first time at 87, hiking in the Rocky Mountains at age 95, and obviously in Yosemite too at 98, giving his first Sunday service at a Unitarian Universalist congregation at age 97, he demonstrates willingness to explore and experience life to its fullest. At 98 years old, he sees his life's purpose as encouraging people to look forward to growing old, to try something new, to be positive, and to exercise daily. I'm honored to dedicate this book to Ken Ogren. Yeah. Now, this lion we chose for the first picture in the book, or the theme, Choose Life. But there's another reason I chose this lion, and that's because I want to let you know he wasn't always this nice and easygoing. And I was very glad and honored that he raised me Unitarian Universalist, but sometimes that caused a little bit of stress. Because in the mornings, Sunday mornings, when the three of us kids were slowly getting ready to go to church, my mom would call out, "Hurry up! Dad has to usher." And of course, we didn't know what an usher was. So we thought usher meant that Dad was mad. So growing up, we'd say to each other, "Oh, quiet, Dad's in an usher." And so this just shows that sometimes growing up, he could be a big lion and had a ferocious roar. But that's the joy of his philosophy of life. Always growing and learning, and he's a calming, more accepting person now.
Yes, Jan, and it's easier for me to get along with myself, too. Thank you, Jan, for sticking around with your old dad as he learned new tricks. Your mom and I always loved your poetry. We did keep urging you to publish your unique and inspiring poetry. And thank you so much for giving me the pleasure and the privilege to select which of your poems should be included in your first volume of poetry.
Is the sound coming through okay? Okay, great.
The first poem I will read today is the theme poem of your volume on poetry, Choose Life. This poem was a closing selection which I read at a Unitarian Universalist men's retreat last October. It turned out to be an instant hit. Choose Life also became the subject of a Thanksgiving service at the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Petaluma, given by Jan and me in November last year. Choose life. Go ahead. Choose life. No, not 15 minutes of fame, the untouchable stash of money in the vault, or the unknown gorgeous person on your arm. Life, as in bruised knees, apple blossoms, and thunderstorms. Choose life, not perfection, but exploration, not control, but curiosity. Look at life. Turn the mirror around. Stop reflecting others and witness your own image. The world may not be what you expected, so you don't have to be what society expects of you. Listen to life. Apple blossoms want you here. Thunderstorms want you here. Life wants you. And if you don't know that now, you will. Wait and you will. So go ahead. Choose life. Do you ever wonder about the usefulness of the word mediocre? Jan has some fascinating concepts of this subject to introduce to you. For me, as a sports fan, especially baseball, do we really have to go through all these playoffs to try to figure out who is the very best? It means that of the 32 baseball teams in the two major leagues, that only one ends up being a winner, and all the rest are losers. I like it better when everyone wins.
And if you can't read what that says, the bear is saying, the world needs your shine. This is called the courage of mediocrity. Bravo for those who finish in the middle. 3 cheers for the losers. Our society recognizes gold medals, Oscars, Nobel Prizes, bestsellers, and other bests. But what if a person's best is not the best? With the increases in population, communication, and transportation, the top 100% of life, the thinkers, scientists, artists, writers, explorers, athletes, and performers that are the best of the best are paraded before us daily. What happens to the people who give their heart and soul to a contest and then are labeled losers by society so that one person can claim the title winner? How do you answer child or adult who asks, why try if I know I can't win? Why run a race if I will be in the middle? Why should we make an attempt if our efforts will only be mediocre? That is such a terrible judgment. Most people would be preferred to be called many other names than mediocre. I had to look up the word in a dictionary just to verify that it really does mean average or ordinary and not worthless or disdainful. Mediocre, average, ordinary is where, by definition, in competitions and testing, it's the middle area. It's the largest section. But yet we tend to focus on the extreme top end. Long ago, when I was in high school, I remember ending up in that unique place for the college entrance exams. I scored in the 99.99 percentile in math. I wondered then about the people scoring 80 and 50 and 30%. There had to be so many of those people there for me to be in the top 0.01%. But it took no great courage for me to be there. I was a natural math intuitive. If I had wanted to go for the best, I should have focused on numbers. And yet my love is words. Here, I need all the strength I can muster. Because if I focus on writing perfectly or being the best, I will stop loving what I write. I will be in danger of asking myself the deadly question, why write if I can't be assured of it being a bestseller? Looking over the bookshelves, seeing all the writers and books out there, I know I just need to be there. Not the best, just me. If I write a mediocre book, then it will exist. People will be able to read and enjoy it. If I wait until I can be assured I will write the next bestseller, it will stay forever on my laptop or in my mind, buried beneath judgments and fears. I wonder what it would be like if our society measured a person's worth by internal satisfaction rather than external comparisons. What if in place of beauty contests we had self-esteem or happiness contests? What if the winner of the race was not the first person, but the one who crossed the finish line with the biggest smile? What if people were encouraged to follow what they loved, not what they were good at? Or what if we just stopped having competitions altogether and trusted that children and adults would naturally want to explore their talents with no need for pressure or coercion? Well, until the world does change, I'll continue to cheer for those who do their best and are not the best. Bravo for the people in the middle and at the end, the ones who run the race because they know it is their race to run and they are brave enough to participate in life.
Nothing typifies a relationship like a family of raccoons. When we were living in the mountains of Colorado, I was having more darn trouble keeping those pesky raccoons out of our house. They just wanted to be part of the family, especially at meal times. The next two poems come from the section entitled Relationships. I'm going to read a short poem that appeals to my love of finding order in this complex universe which we inhabit together. The title of this is One by One by One. One by one by one, coming together. 2 by 3 by 4. Perhaps there's more. They say we don't have numbers. They say we don't matter. Yet we keep appearing one by one by one. Now a dozen. Now 1,000. What do numbers really mean? Isn't each of us important as a one, a someone? One by one by one, we come, we stand, we make a difference.
This poem was especially inspired by my parents. In fact, I'd say that it really embraces our Unitarian Universalist principles. We believe in one and one and one. In the early 1960s in Virginia, my parents went door by door by door, talking to our neighbors to try to make our neighborhood more open, welcoming, and safe for Black families. I grew up believing that everyone can make a difference. One person touching another one, ripples out, creates change. And when one person touches 2 people, who touch 2 more people, change becomes exponential. Speaking of touching others, this next poem is called Lonely. I'm lonely. I admit it. Now I have declared myself needy, vulnerable, a person to be avoided. To gain friends, I must present myself as happy, independent, a person who has everything, needs nothing. I must look as though I am entirely self-sufficient. Then I will be an outstanding prospect as a friend. So please, when you see me grinning and acting fine behind my rosy glass of wine, search beyond the facade. Step around my perfect presentation and meet me in the garden of my vulnerability. Maybe I'll discover that you are lonely and needy too.
This next one is in the section entitled Self-Reflection. It's another of my many favorites. It's called Jagged Judgments. It comes with a lesson for all of us. Jan wrote it for her mother, who tended to be too self-critical, especially in her later life. I went through a period of that too when I suffered through a severe depression in my early 60s. I've learned to see life differently now, just like this poem illustrates. Jagged Judgments. I throw stones at myself. Idiot, stupid, ugly. I can't do anything right. I hurl the judgments one by one, piling them up until they rise towering above me. Weaving through columns of criticisms, I worry over every word I write. Will I sound stupid? Will I upset anyone? Is it the right thing to say? I agonize for hours on the proper course to take as I navigate through the mounds of disapproval, always making sure the mountains are invisible to everyone else. After all, I must be seen as positive, friendly, helpful. People say nice things, which I try not to hear. After all, polite people never appreciate themselves. Don't be conceited, selfish. No one likes a show-off. Cascades of criticisms tumble down the slopes, burying me. Now I'm an absolute failure. I can no longer even pretend for others. They will see the mess I've made, evidence of my inadequacy, jumbled all around me. So I hide. But my dog discovers me. He still wants his walks, his rubs, his food. He strolls right through the piles of stony statements, oblivious to the jagged judgments surrounding me. My lovable lab has never understood criticisms. My scoldings never sink in. He hangs his head for a moment, then wagging his tail, he's back, expecting warmth and acceptance. As I give love to him, his love for me sneaks in. Tiny pebbles of pleasure become a sandy beach. Too tired to throw stones, I lie in the warmth, snuggling against my furry savior. I agree with my earlier judgments. I was an idiot to worry so much. I was stupid to be so self-critical. I'm going to start thinking like my dog. I especially like those last three words. Jan and Dean had a black lab called Dex that I adored. He's not the one in Jan's picture, but it's just like him. Why do black labs have such short lives? I often ask myself. Dex died at age 10. Now, Jan is going to tell you one of her fairy tales. Oh, I think.
Her mom's shown here.
Yeah. Her mom, shown here on the screen, was celebrating her 93rd birthday, her final one. Jan dedicated her book, Dragon Magic, Amazing Fables for All Ages, to her mom. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
I'm going to come out here. So, oops, uh-oh. Oh, no, that's a, I thought I was creating a rumble, but that's actually the air conditioning coming in. So my mom was a storyteller, and she gave me a love of storytelling. And this book is dedicated to her. And the stories that came to me for this book all came for problems I was having in life. And stories are such a wonderful way of learning lessons. And I chose one called The Hungry Ghost because I think this one really fits in my dad's philosophy. So, once upon a time, let me just get a little more, there we go. Give myself a little bit more chord here. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, before there were humans in this world, the animals were curious about why are we here? What is the purpose of life? And they got together and they called up to the Great Spirit. And they said, why? Why are we here? And on the edge of the meadow, Coyote was going back and forth, very curious, looking, checking things out. And then the Great Spirit came down and said, that's a good question. To know why you were here, it's a very complex answer, but I can help you out. I will give you a task. And when you fulfill that task, you will have your answer. And Coyote went, a task, haha, I'm good, I'm best. I'll get that task first. Whatever it is, I'll get it. And suddenly, a bag appeared in Coyote's paw. And he noticed that all the other animals had bags too. And the Great Spirit said, as you go throughout the forests and the meadows and the mountains, you will notice piles of beautiful things that I have put there for you, special objects. And you can take from those piles and anywhere else you see and fill up your bag. And when your bag is full, then you will know why you're here. And Coyote's like, all right, here we go. And he ran off as fast as he could so that he didn't hear the Great Spirit say, now, these piles will come and go throughout your life. So don't worry, because they won't be around long. They'll start to disappear, but there'll be more. So take your time and find your answers. But Coyote was already on his way. Whoa, look at that. That's a huge pile. I can fill up my bag with just this one pile. And he started scooping it in without even looking at what was in there. He just piled it in and in and in. And meanwhile, a hungry ghost started drifting by. Now, there are two things you need to know about a hungry ghost. One is that it's always hungry and it never fills up. And it doesn't have any hands, so what it has to do is it has to find animals, or it now likes finding people too, to fill it up. So what it did was it grabbed the bottom of the bag and it ate out the bottom, and it put its mouth there. And as Coyote's, oh boy, here, this is filling it up. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to make it back to that meadow before the other animals have even left yet. And he scooped and scooped and scooped. And then the pile started to disappear. Oh no! Why do these things always happen to me? The pile's disappearing. Oh, faster, faster, faster. But then the pile was gone. And so Coyote thought, well, I'm sure there's enough that's filled up this bag. And he looked in it, but he was looking right into the mouth of the hungry ghost, and there was nothing else in the bag. No, my bag's defective. What's wrong? I was going to be first. Now I've got to go find another pile and a better bag. And he was so disappointed because, you see, hungry ghosts, they don't just eat things. They ate all of his good feelings about himself, too. So he ran off to try to find the next pile, and he almost ran into Bear. Oh, Coyote, what are you doing? Coyote's always in such a hurry. Oh, I wonder where those piles are. The Great Spirit talked. Do you see that? Oh, wow, look at this pile. They're good things to eat. Oh, and beautiful objects. And she sat right down and started looking at it, even though she knew it was going to disappear soon. Oh, there's a piece of honeycomb on the side there. I wonder, I might just take that and put that in my bag. Oh, it looks so good. And as she was picking it up, a hungry ghost came by. But the ghost looked at Bear and how lovingly she was putting it in her bag, and it thought, it's not going to feed me. I can't grab that out of her bag, so I'm going to go find some coyotes or someone like that. And Bear finished putting it in the bag, and then she got up and wandered around to see what else she'd find. Now, that's an abbreviated version of the story that's in the book, but I often tell this at Sunday services for the Story for All Ages. And I'll ask the kids, I'll say, who do you think's going to fill their bag first, Bear or Coyote? And now my dad used to be kind of a coyote when he was younger in life. He would wander around. I'm going to slip in right in front of you, Dad. And he wasn't quite sure that he was doing enough, as I'll talk about later. But then he's become like Bear in his later years. That's why I think he likes growing older, is because it's a little easier. So step over here so you're next to Mike. So one of the things that I grew up loving to do was go to the opera, because we grew up in France and my parents took me to the opera, and we still love going. And we were just down there a couple of years ago, and during the intermission, I asked my dad how he was enjoying the opera.
It was stupendous, but my hands have developed a slight tremor recently, and I wasn't able to use the opera glasses.
And I was concerned because I knew that he really loves being able to see the expressions on the singers' faces. So I asked him, what did you do when you couldn't use your opera glasses anymore?
I put them away.
He just put them away. Rather than wailing about, oh, I don't have enough, I can't do this, he just decided to view opera in a new way. And another way to state this is he doesn't focus on what he can't do. He finds new things to do, as this next poem illustrates. He finds a new opening. He wanted to recite this next one because it's a fun one. It's more boisterous than my other ones. And if you've ever gone cross-country skiing, you'll especially relate to this, because we did a lot of cross-country skiing together. And in fact, the last time we went skiing was near his house in Boulder, Colorado. And 9 years ago, when he was only 89 years old. So if you've ever skied or run or biked through trees, you can relate to it.
Don't hit the tree. From the top of the hill, all I can see are wooden monoliths guarding a narrow passageway. My skis start to slip down the polished slope as I begin my chant, "Don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree." Yards of clear snow speed by as I approach the first obstacle, jagged bark and deadly broken branches fringed with razor-sharp needles. Don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree. Wham! I pull myself off the monster and try again, instructing myself more forcefully, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree. Wham!
Take a step to your left.
Yep.
There you go.
A skier glides over, untangling me from the massive barrier. Are you okay? You skied right into that tree. I glared at him, then go back to muttering loudly, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree. He taps me on my shoulder. If you don't want to hit the tree, focus on the openings. Here, I'll show you. I watch as his skis turn toward a gap in the surrounding fortress. They roar through, then swerve around toward another gateway. Soon he is halfway down the slope. Crazy man, I think. But I let my chant alter. Here's an opening. Here's an opening. My skis start to glide on the fresh powder. An opening appears between the trees. My body turns and my skis match my thoughts. Here's an opening. Here's an opening. The snow-sparkled forest offers me another opportunity, another opening, and another, as the silent sentinels mark my path. Here's an opening. Here's an opening.
Well, it can be simple and easy to write the advice to find an opening. So I want to share some of the reality behind hitting a tree and actually finding an opening. My dad has hit a lot of trees in his life. In his early 60s, you could say he was lost in a forest. He was seriously depressed. Even though he had a career as a diplomat with his final post in Paris, France, he felt like he wasn't successful enough. Even though he retired with a generous pension, he didn't feel like he provided well enough for the family. At that time, he and my mother had retired to Reston, Virginia, where they lived near a lake. As he would walk along the lake, the thought would often enter his mind that it would be better if he just turned towards the lake and walked in and drowned. Now, luckily, my mom was a nurse, and they went on a 1.5-year quest to find an answer. They tried a lot of medications. Some made no difference, and some made things worse. Then he tried no medications, which left him sleepless, thin, and listless. Not at all the man you see before you here. They were finally referred to a therapist who started doing couples counseling, and my mom recognized right away what the therapist was trying to do. And she said, "I'll tell you anything you want to know about our relationship, but you need to find him help. This is not who he is. There is something wrong." The therapist listened, and she knew of a doctor who might help. They went to see him, and right away he recognized the symptoms of what at that time was called involutional melancholia, which now is just another form of major depressive disorder. The doctor did some tests, but right away he put my dad on a medication that my dad is still on today, and that saved his life. If you knew my dad before the depression, it took a lot to slow him down, because he grew up the son of the sons and daughters of immigrants from Sweden, with the message that you just keep going, and if things get tough and there's some difficulty, you just try harder until you make it through. My dad always believed in this until his depression, when there was no way that he could force himself to go to sleep and relax. He couldn't will himself to be happy again. So through the depression, he learned compassion. He learned to reach out to others and to care about others through that experience. That's why we're really here today, because my dad hit some trees, and then he found an opening. And one of the openings he found was an acceptance, a very deep acceptance of who he is, and also an acceptance of death. This next poem is the one that he absolutely wanted in the book, because it talks so directly of death. It's called Planning to Die. I plan to die, not next Thursday, and probably not before the holidays, but someday, some year, I do plan to die. It's not an if, and I will not simply pass away, kick the bucket, or take a long trip. And I certainly don't want to be lost. I won't even agree to expire. I'm going to die. I'm sorry if it disturbs you that I don't pretend I will live forever, but I don't want death sneaking up, surprising me and my friends. I want everyone to know that I do intend to die. It won't be a mistake or a failure. All my life, I have planned as my final act to die. Step over a little bit further, Dad.
Yes, everyone does die. So I want to give you a specific suggestion from Jan's volume on poetry called Remember to Pack love. Remember to care for the part of you that continues on after this life. It's here now, hiding inside, more than a breath, more than a pulse. The moment people shed their skins, you know there's more missing in those cold corpses than just a smile. Someone was there. Where they have gone is non-physical. So enjoy the touch of your lover's hand. Savor the sweetness of raspberries in spring. But don't forget that part of you that will continue on past life. Help it to prepare for its journey. Don't bother packing the business suits and fancy clothes. No need for extra underwear or even a toothbrush. There's nothing you have struggled to buy that it will want. But what should you pack for it? Perhaps some love, self-awareness, memories. You could heed the advice of those who've gone before. It's always the same. Pack lighter. I took too much. Just yourself is all you need. So unpack those fears and shoulds. Quit obsessing about what you don't have. Let go of what you haven't done yet. You'll be fine. Love more, fear less, and you'll be perfectly prepared for death.
I took this picture in Tanzania, and it's my favorite picture of that trip because this leopard just seems like self-care as we watched it for a long time as it took a bath there.
Now we start the final section, Eternal, with the last two poems. We especially dedicate these poems to Unitarian Universalists in today's audience, as they seem to spend more time questioning things than perhaps any other denomination. I'm very pleased that we raised all three of our children UU, and all three of them are active in their congregations. In fact, Jan's first book, Dividing Worlds, even has a UU protagonist who is trying to save the world. So what could sound more Unitarian Universalist than that? Being raised UU, she's had to contend with more questions than answers. So she's had to figure out this God concept herself. And I like her answer. It surely is unique.
It's simply called God. God, good God, God, what am I going to do with you? You come with so much baggage. Thousands of years of projections, anthropomorphizing, judgments, proclamations, killings, burnings. Well, beauty, bounty, and blessings. I wish we could both just start fresh. Date as though we had just met, so I could get to know you without your past, your history. But no, not you, God. You've had a relationship with everyone. There's no one you're not passionately married to or irreconcilably divorced from. Sometimes I wish I could just walk out and never speak your name again. But if I left, what would happen to you, God? You keep letting others decide what and who you are. Don't you have any pride? For God's sake, God, have some backbone. Stand up, stop the wars, shake off all the prejudice. Don't just sit there. Oh, God. Maybe if I could just change your name. Or even a different language might help. Dieu, Dios, Deo. Ah, now we're getting somewhere. Those slip off the tongue, twist in the air like a cloud, taking on different shapes. But God, you just sit there, heavy with piles of baggage all around. God, you are such a noun. You should need to be a verb. I want to go godding. Then I could say I godded the universe this morning as the sun rose. And when I'm feeling miserable, and my friends could come, and they could touch me, and they could God me. If you won't agree to be a verb, God, then how about at least an adjective? Then I could refer to the goddess-colored rose, or the godness of my lovemaking. But you wouldn't do as an adverb to act godly. Too judgmental. Here comes the baggage again. I think I like you best as a verb. Maybe we could try godding together. And I won't abandon you to all the prejudices. Won't let you use them for war anymore. I won't even change your name. I'll just go about godding the world the best I can. Step over here a little bit more.
The next one is the last one from Jan's book of poetry that we're going to read to you today. It's entitled, What Do I Believe? We'll take turns reading possible answers. What do I believe? Who am I? I have to be agnostic because I don't believe I could hold all wisdom absolutely, certainly.
I must be a pagan because I love nature, listening to singing trees, dancing, celebrating.
I'm inspired to be Jewish because I see myself as chosen, living a purposeful life, reflecting, contemplating.
I live like a Christian because I care for others, helping my neighbors, sharing, loving.
I feel like a Muslim because I adore peace, praying for connection to oneness, giving, honoring.
I eat like a Hindu because I honor animals, seeking to live life with consequences, working, respecting.
I sit like a Buddhist because I try to be mindful, freeing myself from illusions, suffering, struggling.
I think like a humanist because I like to question, using my mind for exploring, inquiring, analyzing.
I'm called an atheist because I don't believe in the big guy in the sky, all-knowing, all-judging.
I worship and appreciate everything. And because they say that God is everything, I guess I'm a theist too. Who am I? Everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming. This is really special because, as I said, he really wanted to be here. And as I put out in an email, at this time in his life, he can't go door to door anymore trying to change the world himself. or sit on committees, which he's done a lot of committees. But he can inspire others, and especially given what's happening in the world, he wants to inspire everybody to just go out there, and life can really change. And he's a living testament to it. So enjoy the treats in the back. Thank you for coming, and we'll be in back to sign books. Thank you.